Another beautiful morning here in Rill. I'm on Gypsy Lane again, and I'm just noticing how much taller again things have grown in just a couple of days, and plants that were up to my knees are now up to my waist height. And birdsong is everywhere. I'm just going to take a nice stroll. I'll show you some of the highlights of it. The blackbirds are out in force, but I don't hear their songs just yet. The smaller birds are making a beautiful midday chorus here. Look at that great stand of stinging nettles. Wonderful. Looks so healthy. I'll be collecting a few of those to eat. And just behind them, a stand of cleavers. The bright green new growth on these brambles is standing out in stark contrast to the dark, sometimes blotched leaves of last year's growth. There are quite a few subspecies of brambles or blackberries, and I think they're distinguished by the number of actual berrylets they've got on each fruit. But we'll have to wait until the high summer for that to reveal itself. That looks like sorrel, one of the sorrels, and there is a hogweed shoot. Looks like it's got itself tangled in grass right there. Some people swear by sorrel and like to make soups out of it. Personally, I don't like it that much. Each to their own, I guess. This huge bramble. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen one that size before. They say that some argue that the bramble can be a carnivorous plant because animals and particularly sheep have been known to get caught in them and just died of thirst or starvation because they were unable to extract themselves, and where they died the plant thrives apparently. So I don't particularly hold with the idea that they're carnivorous, but they certainly benefit from dead animals that get caught underneath them. A really excellent example of hogweed, and you can make out the hogweed shoots just coming out there. They're the ones I like to harvest, along with a very young growth here and here that you see. Foragers do get a bit excited about hogweed because it's so tasty. And as you see here, it's everywhere. It's so common. These little hurdles fences, they're there to keep people off this. You might see the canes over there little plantation that they're putting here. Looks like it's going to be a hawthorn fence or hedgerow eventually. Lots of very young new growth here. More yummy hogweed. It looks like there's been a controlled fire here of some sort. In the olden days, one would have thought that to be a charcoal mound, but possibly just the local forestry management clearing down, because it looks very controlled. Lovely in the shade of these trees, listening to bird song. Still quite chilly though. It's as if the winter's still trying to cling on a little bit. Pine cones in the ground litter, and this sneaky old pine. Oh, there's a lot of the cones still on it. That's what you're looking for right there, that shoot. And some of them have purpley sort of stems like these ones, and others just have plain green ones. But it's the very downy hairs you might be able to see on the leaves and on the stalks. One of the identifying factors of hogweed. Mushrooms are quite rare to find in these months, but when you do, I think we might have found a St George's mushroom here. Yep. It's distinguished by it looks a bit like a normal mushroom in some ways, but it's distinguished by its having white gills, white stems, no collar, and the fact that they tend to grow in rings. There was a St George's mushroom colony, I think there still probably is, on Salisbury Plain. And it's been largely undisturbed because Salisbury Plain is mostly a military training area. And there was some talk about it being perhaps one of the biggest organisms on the planet, because I think it was 7 miles in diameter. And of course the fungi are just the fruit bodies of an underground mycelium. So it's really actually quite lovely to see these. I can't go too much into the mycology of it because I'm not a mycologist and I don't really know that much, save recognising them. And it's called St George's mushrooms because we're only a day off St George's Day in Britain right now, which was yesterday on Sunday. And normally mushrooms like this you will see in the end of summer and the autumn, as it starts to get darker and wetter. But I'll take this and I'll positively identify it before I actually eat it, but I'm let's just say 99% sure that it is a St George's mushroom. Lovely. So I've harvested this little clutch and leaving plenty to come up. There's a little one there that's unearthed. Plenty more to come up, and you'll see that they're all springing up through the forest floor here. Yummy little mushrooms. And you'll see the colony continues on through this tree and that's a typical growth pattern for the St George's mushroom. So like I say, I'm very confident that what we have are super St George's mushrooms. That's a cherry just starting to blossom. How lovely. Beautiful. Wonderful. Of course, the temptation is to cut every hogweed back to encourage growth of those succulent young shoots, but it's also good to let them grow to maturity, because there's another stage that's delicious, and that's where it starts to form tight little flower buds which look like broccoli florets, and you cook them just like broccoli florets. They don't taste the same, but you cook them just like them. And in an even later stage you get the seed heads. But as you see, there's so many. I mean, we've already just in this last couple of minutes we've seen enough to provide a nice meal, a nice side. Of course, the seed heads, which we don't see at the moment, provide these little seeds which you can use in cooking to replace cardamoms, because they effectively taste just like cardamom. So they're nice for adding. If, like me, you grind your own curry powder, you can use them in place of cardamoms, or just add them to flavour milk in place of cardamoms if you're making rice pudding or kheer. The big fat wood pigeon up there. He's big. And it's nice to see the mostly deciduous woodland here, punctuated by these rather stately looking pines. Very nice. Old wood pigeon up there, he's preening himself. Handsome beast. A nice example of hedgerow building there, with vertical stakes and the branches wound around them. When I harvest nettles, I like to take them from shade or partial shade. The stems tend to be a little more tender when you do. So I'm going to get my scissors out and my gloves. I'm going to start harvesting some of that now, because in my opinion I can't never have too much nettle. So what I do is I blanch it, squeeze it out, tennis ball it, and put each tennis ball into the freezer in a little bag. So it's going to provide nutritious meals, tasty and nutritious meals, a little later in the season. This hogweed, as the hogweed shoots go, that's probably the most mature I like to take them. That will still be absolutely delicious, and there's a little tiny one next to it which I would leave to grow for another week. So I'll leave you here in Bruton Park and I'll try and identify those St George's mushrooms as soon as I get home, and I'll put that on video for you, so stay tuned. Okay, I just double and treble checked with authoritative sources, and these are indeed St George's mushrooms. They check on a few identifiers. The white, well, first of all, it's the time of year. It's the right time of year for St George's mushrooms, and there's a kind of a mealy sort of fresh ground flower smell of them. There are no mantles or vulvae around the bottom of the mushroom, and there are no collars on them, and they fit in every other description, including the slightly curled mantle around the gills, very shallow white gills. So I've got myself a nice little catch of St George's mushrooms there. Plus I'll remember that patch for future use. I can probably harvest them going into May if I'm lucky, so I'll just keep an eye out for them and go to that patch again if I can find it. Lovely, and the nettles are there allowing the creepy crawlies to creep out of them and crawl out the window, hopefully, and I'll be blanching them and turning them into cupping them into balls and freezing them for future use as spinach. Tasty spinach too.